Morning. Well, I've left these aft tanks to cure overnight, and when I looked at these this morning, this is very solid. It barely moves, whereas yesterday, when before it was glued up, you know, the plywood would move quite a lot, to the point where I thought I could actually break out the spot welded parts with epoxy on the bottom. It just felt very insecure and loose, and quite, very easy to break off. And now it feels very solid. That's going to easily take a person sitting on it, and I haven't even got the tops on yet, so that's really good. I've also tried to fit the ports into both holes to make sure that I didn't get anything misaligned, and they both fit. That one's just held in with a bit of tape at the moment, just to for effect. So that's going to need to be. I need to order another port, and those will go in much later on when everything else is, probably after the painting, and they will probably be sealed. But I'm not sure whether to seal them in position or epoxy them into position. So that's a thought for later. So that's good. Quite happy with that. The other thing that I did yesterday was the daggerboard trunk. So this is just glued on one side. So the posts, so there's one post at the front, and then there's three posts at the back. So there's the diagonal one, and then there's a vertical one, and then there's one on the top, and those have all glued up really well. And I put I put a sheet of plastic on the inside of that, and then put the daggerboard on it, and then put a weight on top to hold it flat. And it has dried with a very slight twist, probably about 1 to 2 millimeters. And at first, I couldn't get the daggerboard through, which was a bit annoying, because I thought I might have to redo this. So here's the daggerboard, and you can see I put some black tape on the top. So this represents the bit that's going to stay rectangular, and the bottom bit will be planed to a wing shape. And so how this is going to work is that is going to be like this, and that will fit down inside the daggerboard. And that will, as you can see, it sticks a little bit in places. Well, I mean, that's because of the black tape there, but it's quite a tight fit. And once that's all epoxied, I'm not sure how easily that's going to slide through, but the main reason it didn't fit first, so I think I'm quite happy with that so far. I think I will stick with that. But the main reason it didn't slide up and down was because this forward edge, I'd cut it with the jigsaw. It had a couple of little indentations on it, couple of little undulations in it, and so I took the plane and I've just planed off those areas, and that's made it fit through the daggerboard casing fine. So I think I'm going to be quite happy with that. So I just used the standard hand plane, and you can see the shavings here. Just ran down the leading edge and took off the high spots. And that's meant it now fits through the daggerboard fine, well, until I put the black tape on. So now I've started to round off this forward leading edge just with the hand plane, and I'm going to sand that down with the power sander later. So that's just another one of those little jobs that has to get done at some point. And today's my third day of this. It's Tuesday. I started on Sunday. I had a 2-hour drive, and then I spent 4.5 hours working flat out without a break. And it's been quite tiring. Yesterday was a pretty full-on day as well, and so today I just feel like doing some little jobs, nothing major. I had a bit of a lie-in, didn't get up until 9:30, so that kind of really put the kibosh on my kind of half plan, which was to do the 3 coats of epoxy on the daggerboard trunk. But given that that doesn't fit so well, I'm not 100% sure it's going to be good to go, I'm going to leave that for a later date. So I'm going to plane down the dagger board itself, make sure it's got a nice easy fit into that trunk before I decide that that's going to be okay. So that's going to be the first job. Second job is going to be getting the forward frame screwed into position, and getting the new mast collar, the new bigger mast collar to fit. And if I'm happy with all of that, I may go ahead and glue it, or I might leave that for another time. And I'm also going to think about sorting out the seat, the centre seat, which sits on top of here. And once the dagger board case is in position, it's going to sit on top of that as well. So it's going to sit across there. So it needs a couple of supports, one in the forward section, one in the aft section, on both sides. And I need to source the right size of stringer and cut that to size and then shape it. So which is quite a lot of work in that. It's only 4 pieces of wood. It's going to probably take 15-20 minutes to cut the pieces, but it's probably going to take another hour to get them all shaped, because they have to be shaped to the curve of the hull, and also if I just glue them to the sides, they're going to be if that's the block of wood, if I just glue them to the sides, they're going to sit at an angle like that, so the top isn't going to be flat to take the seat on top of it. So I need to either plane the top level, or cut the top level, or cut the sides at an angle. So that's going to be a thought process for later on. And all these little thought processes, all these little problems to solve, they are quite mentally taxing. They're small problems, but you know, you're pushing and pushing and trying to get things done quickly, and you can't. You've got to take your time. You've got to think these things through, come to the right decision. And sometimes there's 2 or 3 options that all seem right. And deciding which one to go with, you know, it takes a little bit of thinking. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to carry on with that some planing on that dagger board, because that's quite therapeutic. And then I'm going to have a cup of tea. Okay, so today hasn't been a hugely productive day, but I've done some bits and pieces. I've ordered more epoxy resin, I've ordered more brushes, and I've ordered the screws I need to put the ports into the 3 bulkheads. I've also shaved off some of the dagger board front edge, and to make sure it will still fit inside the dagger board case. So that needs to be epoxied inside before I go any further with that. And I've been working predominantly today on the forward bulkhead frame. So just to show you how that looks. So the foredeck frame is the king piece, which is the mast collar. So that's going to have the hole cut in there for the mast, and that just sits down the centre line. That's going to be glued in position on the forward section and into this slot in the bulkhead. Then either side of that, we've got these 2 stringers on the port and starboard sides, and also these 2 further stringers on the port and starboard bulkhead to create a triangle shape, which should give this structure some strength, because it's this structure that holds the mast in place at the top. Now on top of that, we've got the actual foredeck itself. So this is all fitting flush, so I'm quite pleased with that. And it does have a 5-degree rake from forward to back. The idea is that any water that falls in here will just fall into the boat and can be bailed out. rather than pooling at the front there. That's the design. So this is all screwed into position at the moment with 2 screws here, 2 there, and 2 on either of those sections. I've kind of run out of time a little bit. I don't really want to go through the process of gluing these in position, because first of all I really need to sand inside the forward tank so that it's ready for the 3 coats of paint. So it's ready for the 3 coats of epoxy, and I don't really want to start sanding that now because I need to do that first, because once these are in position it's going to be hard to get access to do that sanding properly. So I want to sand it, get it ready for paint, for epoxy coating, then I'll glue these in position, and then the next day I'll do 3 coats of epoxy inside there, and then the lid can go on, and that will be pretty much done. Then I'll cut the hole in here, and that will be glued in as well. Then the lid can go on, and then that will be ready for the master base, and then I can put the tanks on the back, and then we're looking ready for, well, then the centerboard case has to go in, and then we can think about glassing the inside bottom, give it some rigidity, and then we need to turn it over and get the keel on. So the keel needs to be scribed and cut to shape and then screwed on, and that's screwed on from inside with stainless steel screws. So once that's done, I've got the sail back now with the reef in it, so the sail is pretty much ready to go. So we could theoretically, once it's all coated, take it for a sail. So it's probably another 6 days away. So let's see how it goes. Maybe we can get it done before the autumn gets here fully. Well, that's it for now. So see you next time.